Okay, good. Everything looks like we're going good. Looks like we got a handful of people in this chat. I'm not going to be able to see your questions for a while. Um, I'm not going to see your questions for a while until the end. What we're going to do tonight is we are just going to look at some of the new features that are coming with NESmaker 5.0 and why and how they related to Mystic searches. One of the most common questions that I've been being asked is when I talk about the delay for Mystic searches. I let people know that one of the reasons it's been delayed is because we've been working on NESmaker, which is the tool that we're being using to create the game. We can't make the game without building the tool. And then people are saying, well, we've already seen so much. And what do you mean? Then you're never going to get finished because the tool's always going to. So I wanted to show an example of exactly what I mean by when we make a change to the tool, it fundamentally changes what we're creating with the engine. And with that, it gives me a great opportunity to show you guys a little bit of behind the scenes of what we're working on for 5.0. And it allows me to show a little tiny bit of what we're working on as far as Mystic searches. And then at the end, I won't be able to read anything that you guys are writing to me until the end because I'm going to minimize this. I promise in the future I'll have my second monitor hooked up and I'll be able to read in real time. I apologize, it won't be today. So let me go through what I'm just showing you and then I can come back and we can come and talk about all kinds of things right up until 8:30, and then I'm going to bounce because then I'm going to go grab dinner and settle in with a nice glass of vino for Game of Thrones tonight. Okay, so without further ado, let me minimize this. And okay, so now the infinity mirror will go away and you'll see this beautiful Morgan Davidson illustration of our Mystic Searches art, featuring a Hannah Fearman as our villainess. If you guys didn't know that, she's an actress. She was in VHS, if you guys have seen that. Anyway, she's really cool. She's one of our friends of the project. And little known fact, she was also Princess Zelda in that fan-made Hero of Time movie when she was much younger. So kind of neat. Let's take a look at a bunch of stuff. The first thing I want to take a look at is what you guys have, which is essentially, which is NESmaker. This is 4.1.7, so this is a little bit further than what you guys have, but generally it works the same. And I wanted you to take a look at this screen in particular. This is your one of your overworld screens. I don't have any graphics loaded in. I don't have any palettes created. This is like a brand new project. I just want to kind of show you guys the relationship between main tiles, screen tiles, and how it's worked up to this point, how it's worked, and then how it's going to work going forward. One thing that you had to do was you always had to define your graphics bank, and you had all your tile sets within that graphics bank. So, for instance, if I went to make new assets, you see I have 6 tile sets, and if I went to I'd hit this, and I can go to screen specific tiles, and I'd have 10 screen specific tiles. And essentially, what I could do on a screen is I could load within a specific bank. I could load in one of those 6 and one of those 10, and the paths also from that group. And so that was a way that we tried to make it so you had a little bit of variety. So like, let's say I had a forest, I could load the forest tile set. But on this particular forest, I wanted the gravestones, but on the next, I didn't need the gravestones. I wanted like the ruins. And on the next one, I wanted like minecart tracks. Okay. So I still had the same base main tile set, but I could get different screen specific tile sets. And then our path tiles allowed you to have, more micro control over things like water and dirt paths and fences and things like that you could build modularly, and all these would have to be in the same bank. And the reason that was sort of an outgrowth of Mystic Origins and developing Mystic Searches. And I want to show you that now. I believe this is Mystic Origins project. Nope, this one. This is Mystic Origins project. This is when you can see the difference between Mystic Origins and growing into Mystic Searches. You can even see some of the similarities here with the main area here, with a swamp area down in this general area, with the main city here. Now, these screens, if I were to blow them up, don't look the same, but the general geography of the map is this Mystic Origins began as a first draft of Mystic Searches. So real quick, let's take a look. So this is, for instance, a grassland area. This is going all the way back before we were even really calling this NESmaker. This was, the Mystic Searches screen tool and game engine, and it was specifically to make this game. I mean, there was really, at this point, this tool didn't have a public use. We weren't really considering it for you guys to be able to use. It was just an inkling of a thought. And so there's a lot of things that you'll notice aren't present that are present in the tool that you know now. But the main thing was, here's an example of a grassland screen, and I don't have access. What I do have, I have these ruins here, and I have these sort of towers. But if I go up one screen, you'll see, okay, I now have that temple. And I didn't have that temple on the other screen. So if I look at these here, I get access to the plinths here and these pillars, whereas on the screen above, I don't have access to those plinths and pillars, and instead I have this temple. And that's because of the screen-specific tiles that I have loaded. So if I go to this screen here, you can see I've got screen 1 loaded, and if I go to this screen, you see I have screen 0 loaded. So I don't even have a graphics editor in this version. That's how limited our tool sets were. We didn't even have a pixel editor. We were still doing it this really long way as far as editing graphics. But I think I can show you if I go to Mystic Origins Final, I go to Graphic Assets. Here's all my tile sets, and I can see my screen-specific tile sets here. Oops. Sorry, here and here. Screen is 0, and you can kind of see that this is the temple, and you can see right there the bottom and the top of the pillar. And these are what are loading in. So I'm always loading this, and with an opportunity, I'm loading this and this. Now, what we have here is the banks are automatically being split up. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those are all one bank, and then the next 6 of the next bank, and the next 6 of the next bank. And with screen specific, you get 10, 10, and 10 in your 3 banks. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of give you an idea of how that worked and how that looked. And that's how it worked with Mystic Origins and how we were doing it with Mystic Searches. And for those of you guys who haven't played, oops, come on. Okay, for those of you guys who haven't played Mystic Searches or Mystic Origins, let me minimize this for a second, put together a nifty little folder for us. Let's take a look at actual gameplay here. And so this is Mystic Origins. I don't know how loud that is, but we really don't need to hear it. So I'm going to turn volume way down. We really don't need to hear this. All right, so this is Mystic Origins, and very cool. And I want to show you guys. It just started changing tonight. I can bring up Messen's picture processing unit and go to the character viewer. This is the part that we're looking at. Don't worry about the colors right now. It's just auto sort of loading the tiles. But what we do want to look at is this part right here is your main tile set. And this row right here is your screen-specific tile set. So if I go to the screen above me, you'll see that my main tile set will stay the same, and my tiles and my screen-specific will change to the temple. So now I have those temple graphics. Okay, so that's how we handled, originally that's how we handled the diversity between screens, even though we were dealing with the same tile set. This is a little bit further down the road, and this is the first draft of the map, of the entire overworld map for Mystic Searches. Some of you guys have seen this. I've shown it a couple of times. It's not that new. We've been tweaking and working with it a lot since then. One of the main things is getting things less squared off, but there's limitations as far as palettes and colors, which is why some things end up a little bit more squared off. But it gives you an idea of generally what the the landscape's going to look like, all the way from our evil ice world and pirate ships down to the volcano and the land of the dead and the deserts and the lush forests and everything like that. And a lot of you guys have probably seen this screen. Okay, so the same sort of thing. This is still built the same way with Borrowwood. That's the forest tile sets, and it uses the mountains screen-specific tile sets. So again, if I were to look at, I don't even have a pixel editor here for us to look at, but if I look at my finished map for Mystic Searches, graphic assets, I could look at, here is my, let's see, so we're using Borrowwood, which is not, it's a second tile set. So if I look at that, that's this guy being used. And the screen-specific one is the mountains, which is, has to be in that first group somewhere. So 1, 2, 3, probably one of the last ones in this group. Not sure which one it is. Let's see. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's mountains right there. It's really hard to see because it's green and red and blue. And those of you guys who know how to use the tool understand how that works. But anyway, so that's awesome. But then we would run into problems where there's a lot of places in the game where we wanted to make use of, the same graphics, but we couldn't be in the same bank. Like we wanted to use mountains all over the game. Like if you look at the main map here, I mean, there's mountains in just about every area. There's a whole section of mountains, but there's some mountains over here. There's some mountain tiles here in this area. The swamp has some mountain tiles. The ice world has some mountain tiles. The only area that doesn't really have any mountains at all, or mountain surfaces, is this sort of beachy area. But all the rest of the world has mountains. Well, that sucks, because what we'd end up having to do is we'd have to end up using the same. We'd have to duplicate the screen-specific tiles that had the mountains across all 3 banks. So we were wasting all that space to get the mountain tiles, and so that prevented us from having as much diversity in the game as we could. So that was problem number 1, and that was okay. And we got, obviously, if you look at the screen, we found ways around it, but it was really inconvenient, and we wish we had some more control. Like we wish we could pull the main tile set from bank 1 and the screen specific from bank 2, but we'd already done so much work. We're like, that's not that big of a deal. Okay, so one of the things that we've been doing while we've been updating the tool is a full graphics overhaul, and some of you guys have seen the new graphics. I can even show you guys a little bit. Like, these are some of the new graphics created by Franco. They're absolutely amazing. He's been working with us. Our player is even cooler looking. He's taken a lot of the iconography that already existed and just made it that much cooler. And now what we have is this really interesting hybrid between Jaren's original artwork, Austin's tile work, Aaron Johnson, who came on for a while, his tile work, and now Franco's tile work. And we've made this really cool amalgam of all that. And that's the graphics for the game. And we started to put the bosses in the game. And that presented a problem really quick, because we wanted to use these large bosses, but we were really out of tile sets. So if we look at the folder for the finished map, and we look at graphic assets, you're going to see we've used like every tile set to get that diversity. We've got like 1 screen-specific tile set left, and we maybe could start to merge a couple of things in here, but we need the duplicates. Like we have trees on both of these tile sets, but we need them because we need trees in the forest where there's the stumps and the more dead forest, and we need trees in the very living forest. So, it sucks because we have to duplicate so much. And the same thing went for screen-specific tiles. How can we solve this problem? And then also, we could get more tile set room out if we could mix and match where the tiles came from and where the paths drew graphics from. If we could, use each in respective banks. We didn't have to pull off from the same bank, but also we needed to free up tile sets completely, because I'll show you one of the reasons. First of all, we had this really great boss concept that Franco came up with, and this is for one of our characters. This is a desert character. This is Sardonyx the Mystic, and his sort of beast mode form when he's possessed by our antagonist. And that it was just so compelling. I'm like, oh my god, dude, that has to be in the game. But of course, there's a huge problem with that character being in the game. If you start counting up the amount of tiles that it would take to make that character, you literally cannot fit it in a main tile set. In fact, you can't fit it in a main tile set and a screen-specific tile set. We ended up having to reduce this guy down to this, which, while cool, is less cool. Like, this guy's spooky enough. He's evil monster. Even to get this much detail, we ended up having to make an object out of the mouth. And it wasn't really satisfying. Like, we wanted that giant monster feel. And there's a couple other places where we needed these large tile sets that use up most of the tile set room, and where we don't even need paths on the screen. So what we had to do is, with the newest version of NESmaker, which here is the newest version, I believe I'm looking at the newest version. Nope, sorry. This is the newest version. Here we go. 4.1.10. We have created a way for you to define the size of your tile set areas. This will fundamentally change the way that we're dealing with graphics for Mystic Searches, as well as what you're able to do with it going forward. So let's just use the, let's take a look at what I mean. So what we were talking about before is this. This is still the default way that tile sets work. We're pulling from the same bank. We have a main tile set, we have a screen-specific tile set, we have an area for your path graphics, and we have your HUD graphics. That's the default. So any of you that are currently working with Mystic Searches and want to bring your files to the new version, it will automatically do this, and you won't even notice a difference. Okay, but when you want to start playing around, what we can do is there are different modes that we can run in. So now, instead of just being main screen path, we can make it main, and you can get two full tile sets at the same time that you could be using for the same screen. Notice though, now I lose my paths. So this would be a screen where you wouldn't have access to paths, but some of you are making, say, platform games. You don't need paths. Or you might have a need for a giant monster that uses all these graphics, and you don't have paths on that screen, like what we need for Mystic Searches. Here's another example. We have no path at all, but you have three different screen-specific tile sets. For instance, if you had your forest, and you needed the gravestones, and you needed ruins, and you needed mountains, and those three were on three separate screen-specific tiles, how could you get those all on the same screen? You couldn't. And then there's also, a main screen, and paths. So most commonly, what we might want is a walking path and a water feature, whether it's water, lava, tar pit, whatever it is, on the same screen. So this gives you the most amount of tiles while still having two types of paths on the screen. You have a main tile set, two different screen specific, so like mountains and architectural features, and then a water feature and a walking path or whatever. So you can actually set that. Not only that, here's the best part. We no longer have to worry about banks anymore when you're dealing with your tile sets. You just have access to all the tile sets. That's it. It automatically does all the banking in the background, and all of these can be from different banks. So my main tile set could be from bank 1. My screen specific could be from bank 2, and my this could be from bank 3, and my paths, if I had one that used paths, could be from bank 2 again, or whatever. So I could actually change this based on what I want. I hit OK. Let's do 2 mains so I can demonstrate how this worked with the monster. So, okay, now I have access to those, and I could actually build a tile set with the 2 mains that are loaded. But let's say that I want to, let's make a new screen here. I no longer have to choose a bank when I'm making a screen. It doesn't matter. I'm going to bring in bug and bug. And this is just something I messed around with in just a few minutes. I'm going to go to my tile layout, and I'm going to choose main and main. And for I can't remember if it's 1617 or 1716. I think it's got to be 17. I think that's the one I did first. and 16, I'm pretty sure. But you can see now my entire, that big epic looking bug pretty much fits here. So now I already made the screen. If this comes in wrong, I just got to flip that. It did. Okay. So I got to flip that backwards. It was 16 and 17. There we go. So now I can actually place my player and I can test the game, and I am now in the world with the bug. Now I still have to mess with the colors and I want to optimize this. This is just something I did quickly as I was testing Josh's new function this afternoon. So that's a huge, huge thing that now allows us to have and that's our new Julian, by the way. This allows us to have giant monsters in the game as bosses that we wanted for Mystic Searches. So anyway, that's a lot of look at this new feature. I want to jump to some questions and some thoughts. I know there's a lot of questions and comments. So let me jump over to the Twitch forum. We got about 5-6 minutes before I got to roll. So let's, oops, not there. Let's chat. Okay, so here we go. Now I can read what you guys are saying. I have about 5 minutes. So yes, Mystic Searches is an adventure game. This is a tool for making NES games that you can actually flash to a cartridge. Yes, this will change a lot of assets. And you also can get rid of the HUD tiles. You can actually just make everything a main tile set and then screen specific tile sets for all the rest. So you can actually make use of the entire thing and use like a sprite HUD. It's pretty huge. It took a lot of work on Josh's part, so thank Josh. And then I just cranked and made it work today in the tool, and it works. It worked on the first try, and the reason it worked is because I've spent so much time perfecting the macros for screen loads that I literally just was able to drop it right in. You can have two mains. You could have a main, screen specific, and paths. You can have a main, 3 screen specifics. You can have there's 8 different breakdowns of how you can set that up. Let's see. There should be an option to pop out the chat. We'll deal with that another day. The screen tunnel. I thought the screen tunnel was kind of cool too. So I haven't poured my beverage yet. So right now it's just water. Somebody was asking, since the graphics can now be allocated basically however we wish, will there still be an option to display the path tiles as normal tiles if they are set in use on the tool? Not sure I understood the question. But you don't have to use the tile sets, the path tiles at all. You can use a screen specific tile in the place of the path. So you don't have to make use of the paths at all, if that answers the question. Yes, now there is a graphics, there's a pixel editor in NESmaker. Palette restrictions are the same for all the tile sets. The palettes haven't changed how they work. That's a NES limit, not a NESmaker limit. So how many people are working on this project? There are really 3 main people working on the project right now. It is myself doing the assembly language, the actual NES development, Josh, who is doing the front end tool work, and there is an artist, Austin McKinley, who's been on the project since the very beginning. So that's the team. It is very small. I only got a couple more minutes, guys. So did you guys have any other questions about Mystic Searches, NESmaker, the new version, etc.? Is there any way to get RPG functionality out of the current build? Absolutely. How good are you at assembly language? There is currently no RPG module, so you'd be doing a lot of custom assembly, but you absolutely could do that, and that's encouraged. So there's already some people that are taking the engine and making all kinds of crazy things happen that we didn't anticipate. Let's see. Great stuff, Joe. The combo with the tile set half path. Yeah, it's going to be really cool, I think. It's going to cause us to have to readjust how our screens work to get the most out of our tile sets for Mystic Searches. And that's a perfect example of what I mean by we made a change to the tool in order to facilitate something that we needed Mystic searches to be able to do. Now that's changed for you guys, and you have access to that, and we made it so that it made logical sense for a lot of different uses that you guys might have, but it's also for what we need. And now we need to readjust how those tile sets are so that we can make the most use of that feature, the new feature that we did for Mystic searches. We've been working on this whole project for a little over 4.5 years or so. It started as we needed tools to make our own game, and then it grew into something bigger and bigger, and it became a way for others to make games. I have an important question. Is there a way to change screens and force the player to sprite to change? Like change screens to a full screen menu and the character sprite becomes a selector sprite. Absolutely. Again, how good are you at assembly language? This is completely possible. And people have already done things like this. It's just a matter of using what's there and being very clever with the way that you use it. But yes, it's totally possible. Anything that the NES can do, NESmaker is fully capable of supporting. NESmaker is an asset organizer and a code organizer. We've given a sort of default vanilla engine to get people started, where you can make a bunch of different style games really quick. But if you start making, going to advanced degrees, you can do all kinds of stuff with it, whatever you can imagine. Get it do scrolling. I like paths, but just an example, does this get rid of paths and give me X more screen specific tile sets total, or just the option to use more on a single screen? No, as of right now, the number of graphics are still hard set. There's probably a way that you could fudge that. I wouldn't recommend it. And there's no way to get, without hard coding, there's no way to get to those, or without doing it outside of NESmaker, there's no way to get to those new tile sets that you might make. But that's still a lot of graphics to work with. Any chance of that 2.5 physics in Mystic Searches coming to the rest of us at some point? You guys figure it out. It's not that hard. You use a Z coordinate that draws the Y of the object, in what am I trying to say? Compared to where the Y value is. It's not that hard. Can it do scrolling? Yes. And you guys, you've seen Mugi's example, right? With the 4-way scrolling. Oh my God, it's so cool. No one will be getting the version until 5.0 comes out, unfortunately, because we have a lot of things to fix. So what I don't want to do is put out a new version that has a lot of things wrong with it and then spend more time teching that version when we should be getting the version ready for release. It is not free. It is engine that will allow you to make new NES games. You can get a full commercial license to make start making your own NES games at thenew8bitheroes.com. Somebody's already working on a slot machine game, actually. Yeah. Coding may not be your strong suit, but we've got a lot of people who are offering their services on the forums. Yes, we have started the music composition tool, and that's one of the major things that we're working on for 5.0, and that's one of the hardest things that we're working that is the most challenging thing. Now that this is over, that's Josh's main focus as of right now. So it's a challenge. We're trying to get something that looks more like a piano roll MIDI sequencer, but it's brutal. How far along would you say you are with Mystic Searches? It's an impossible question to answer. Like I said, here's a look at a finished map. There's a draft 1 for a map that we're sort of redrafting. So, how far are we? What does that mean? I'm not sure. We're asked that question all the time. If we have a finished map and it's completely playable, but we're redrafting it and trying to get the functionality compressed a lot, how far does that make us? I'm not sure. Will we have a better optimization and working option to fully turn off collisions for objects? Not sure how that. I mean, that's stuff that you could do manually. I'm not sure that that's going to be something in the vanilla modules that come with it. Anyway, guys, I'm getting tugged. I've got to go get some food. I've got to get food and pour myself some vino before before Game of Thrones. So it's time to spend time with the wife. I really, really, really appreciate it. You guys, if you have further questions, feel free to jump on the forums or the Facebook group at Facebook groups / the New 8-Bit Heroes. No, I'm sorry. On Facebook, it's NESmakers, right? It's the group's NESmakers, or the new8bitheroes.com has everything that you need. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in. I'm sorry to bolt. I'm going to try and do this once a week or so, show you guys what we're working on, and I'll let you guys know. Maybe I'll try and do Sundays. Maybe this will be a thing. So I appreciate it, guys. Next time, I'll definitely have my second monitor up so that we won't get this thing happening again. But yeah, super excited. Thank you so much. I really appreciate all the support, and I'll talk to you all soon.